Happy Monday. You guys always catch me dancing. Welcome to another episode of Monday Night Live, a time I connect with you Monday at 7 p.m. EST to align biblical principles with your entrepreneurial journey. Excited that tonight is a culmination of a 10-part series. It's been a while that I've been doing called Master the Marketplace, which is really the 10 commandments of doing business God's way. I wonder if you realize that God gave you purpose for purpose, and that purpose is meant to bring the kingdom here on earth. And as you get in alignment with God's assignment, there are going to be things in your way that are not going to want you to do it. So, by the way, if you've missed any of the first 10, go back and watch them the way I teach. Many of you that follow me week after week, you know I build one on the next. And let me tell you one of the main reasons why I feel like God put this in my spirit. In the last 6 months, I've gotten more phone calls with challenges that entrepreneurs are having. It's not about how smart they are. It's not about them having all the information they need. It's between two things: not understanding what to implement and having things that are in their way. Now, in our first episode, I talked to you about the atmosphere that your business sits in. You will hear me. These are the four systems I teach, right? My clients, you need a purpose system, a back-end system, a building system, a sales system, right? You need all those things. But what many people do not realize is those things happen in an atmosphere. If you don't take the time to correct, to readjust, to reset, to reclaim, whatever you need to do to get your atmosphere in alignment with where God is calling you to go, you won't make it. You won't. Mhm. So, quick review. And by the way, as you come in, God went all the way in already. Say hello. Tell me name and where you're joining from. If, as I share, this content resonates with you, it's exactly what you need, please let me know. If I'm stepping on your toes, let me know that too. And if you have questions, post away because I'm here for you. I want to be able to coach you and teach you. Okay. So, quick review, right? Number one, you must say yes to your calling. Again, these are the 10 commandments to do business God's way. Tonight is number 10. You must say yes to your calling, and all of us are called. Miss that episode? Go back and watch it on my YouTube channel. Number two, you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You've got to get comfortable with it. The minute you get comfortable, that means that you are being mediocre. Come on, somebody. God never intended us to live on one level. Anyway, I'll go into that in a minute. Number three, you must be a servant leader. Because ultimately, it's not about you. It's all the people that need you. So how are you focused on serving them and not serving yourself? Hello, come on, somebody. Number four, you must have a singular focus. Again, I'm doing a quick review before I go into number 10, y'all. Again, if you missed any of these, go watch them on my YouTube channel, nrjnetwork.com. Number five, you must draft a winning team. Listen, if the Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens and the 49ers and all these football teams are going to make sure they draft the right people so they can win the Super Bowl, are you thinking about the fact that you are playing in the Super Bowl for the kingdom? Come on and drop stuff in my mind, God, as I'm talking. Because you are. Where you're the quarterback or the tight end, you are in the starting lineup. Are you drafting the people around you that you need to be able to do the thing God's called you to do? In that same token, never underestimate your competition. Oh, you can learn valuable lessons from your competition. Go watch episode number 6 as I dug into that. Number 7, you must operate in integrity. I use a great example because Miss Cleo, did you guys see that movie on Lifetime? It had just come on, so I used her as an example there. Number 8, you must own your value. Listen, God never intended for any of us to be a Pinto. He meant us all to be a Bentley. Then our last episode was choose impact over income. So again, if you missed any of our previous episodes, you see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. nrjnetwork.com is where you go. And the reason I went through all of those is because tonight is really a culmination of everything I've taught you. As we talk about, you must learn to let go. Now, this is a multi-layered conversation. You've got to learn to let go. So listen again, if you have questions as I'm sharing, please, by all means, post them away. I see more people coming in. At least say, hey, girl. Hi, Nicole. As my grandmother would say, don't walk in this house and not speak. Number 2, please share this with your networks. because somebody in your tribe, somebody that is following you needs this insight as much as you may need it. All right. So let me dig in. So again, you must learn to let go. Now, here's the thing. It's critical for your business growth. Why? I said this a minute ago. I'm going to say it again. God never intended us to live on one level. See, life is about levels and stages. It's like matriculating through the school system. God never intended for you to stay in kindergarten. But you get to kindergarten and then you move where? To first grade, or you go to preschool and then you go to elementary school to middle school to high school, and I can go on and on and on. So in the same way, your purpose matriculates, your gift matriculates. So you may have thought, I want this career when I graduate. And you may have gotten to it. But then you get to that corner office and you're bored. It's because you have outgrown the place you're in. Many of you have outgrown your career. Some of you have outgrown your business. But you sit in complacent and you settle when all you've got to do is learn to let go, right? So listen, my clients hear me say this all the time. You can't grow beyond your own potential. Your business can't grow beyond your own potential. You limit it from growing. So if you're going to grow your business, you've got to grow you. So in order to do that, you got to let go of three things. You ready? Number one, you got to let go of what you already know. Now, you've heard me say this if you've been around me, but I really want you to get this. This is Philippians. I'm about to read this Bible verse, Philippians 3. Really, it's 12, but what's interesting is 13 and 14. I got to read those too. This is the NIV version. Okay. Again, Philippians 3, 12 through 14. Not that I have already obtained all this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. Why did he repeat that twice? Why did Paul feel like he had to repeat that twice? That's interesting, right? So let me start from the beginning. Listen how he says it twice. This is 12 again. Not that I have already obtained all of this or have already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ Jesus took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it. But one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining toward what is ahead, I press on toward the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus. The thing that's interesting about this Bible verse is in verse 12 and 13, he says twice that he hasn't already obtained it. I think what happens with many of us, and this is me included, is you get to a place and you think, oh, this is exactly where I'm meant to be, and you're happy and you love it and you're done. And if I'm gonna be completely transparent and honest with you, as I'm doing this research for you guys, God is talking to me because I'm in this very place in my business right now. I feel like I know that God is stirring up for me to do a new level. And hello, I've got to let go of what I already know. I have to be willing to grow to my next. So one, you've got to be committed to lifelong learning. Again, when you're in kindergarten, you don't know what you're going to learn in the second grade, but you got to be committed to do well in kindergarten so you can move to second grade. And then you've got to let go of kindergarten to grow. So many of you are tied to your corporate paycheck, and God is calling you to be an entrepreneur. Or those of you that are being an entrepreneur, if I'm gonna use myself for an example, God might be, like I work with entrepreneurs, but God is stirring me up to work in a bigger way. Is it scary? Yeah. But I need you to understand who you are today is great, but God is done with that level of you. Your bio, your resume is complete. It's over. It's done. What's the next level of you that is brewing and dying to come out that you won't dare do it because you're so focused on who you already are? So are you coachable? Are you hungry? Are you willing to change? That's what this is really about. It's allowing yourself to change and grow, which moves us to number two. You've got to let go of comfort. Now, the thing that's so interesting, even with that, is if you've ever read the story of Moses and the burning bush. First of all, if you think about what you know, how can a bush burn on its own when there's no heat or fire or anything around it or a match? They didn't have matches back then, but you know what I'm saying. Moses in that moment had to let go of what he knew to even trust that that was God doing that. Do you get that? I love the Bible verse Ephesians 3:20 that says, "Now to him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all you can ask or think." If God's going to do beyond what you could even think, fathom, imagine, then it's going to be uncomfortable because it's something you can't even imagine. Listen, when I in undergrad went to school for TV and film, hi Regina. When I went to school for TV and film, graduated with my bachelor's degree in design for TV and film, started working at Viacom's largest cable network, moved from there to work on in casting for the number one TV show on Fox. I loved my job, loved it. I in no way ever thought I would leave doing that. But God had a bigger plan for me and he kept stirring it up in me. So my question to you is, are you willing to let go of what you know and go into the uncomfortable place? Great example of this is Abraham, right? Now, Abraham, Genesis 12:1 through 3 is what I'm going to read. Hi, Robin. Genesis 12:1 through 3. Now, the Lord said to Abram, and by the way, his name was Abram, and God changed his name to Abraham later in the story. That's a whole nother story. I'm not going to get into that now, but I want you to hear this conversation that God has with Abram. Get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. God repeated that twice too. Y'all realize that? Let me read that again. Get out of your country, from your from your family and from your father's house to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. Said that twice, and you shall be a blessing. Why do you think God repeated himself? He didn't need to. He's God. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. God said to Abraham, listen, I want you to let go of everything you know. Let go of your degree. I feel like I got lipstick all over my mouth. Let go of your degree. Let go of all the things that you already own. Let go of all the things that you have. I'm sending you to a bigger place. He says, I'm going to make your name great and you shall be a blessing, which means if I'm going to be a blessing, that means that I am going to be blessed to be a blessing. Y'all get that? But God says, leave everything you know and just trust me. If that ain't uncomfortable at its best, if that's letting go what you know, if that's not letting go what you know at its best, that's the first two steps, by the way, y'all. But I can tell you the third step I'm going to give you. And by the way, let me just say this before I tell you the third step. Step number 2, I talked about week number 2 in detail, letting go of comfort. So go back and watch that to give you more insight there. But letting go of what you know and letting go of comfort ultimately means, as a business owner, as a CEO or CEO in the making, you got to let go of control. You've got to let go of control. Sometimes that looks like when you hire people and you start to bring people in, I hear people say things like, well, she's not going to do it like I'm going to do it. You're right. She's not, because she's not you. But when you let go of how she does it, as long as she gets to the end result, who cares if that's your assistant or any other team member you bring in? How about when you're in an argument and you're trying to win instead of just trying to get resolved? That's being controlling. And when you're trying to control things, let me tell you something. God is in control. There are things that happen in your business that you have no control over. But if you aren't willing to relinquish control, you'll be stuck in perfectionism. You'll be stuck in a place that God has not sent you to, right? So instead, you've got to learn the art of surrender. So surrender is complete acceptance of what is and faith that all is well, even when you cannot see it. So I want to give you 5 steps here to really let go of control, because this is the biggest thing, no matter who I have talked to. And this is me too, by the way, y'all. So you're not alone. I have control issues too. And I'm going to tell you the exact exercise I do. I'm going to give you the 5 steps that I take anytime I feel like I'm having a controlling moment, because I have plenty. And I'm in one right now, if I'm gonna be honest, right? Is God is also up leveling me and growing me. I can feel it happening. But now I kind of see when it's happening, because I've been here before. I'm not new to this with God. I'm true to this. I'm always gonna be obedient. But anyway, not about me. Okay, so here are 5 steps. 5 steps to learn the art of letting go of comfort, which ultimately is letting go and letting God. That's what surrender is. Okay. Now, number 1, I want you to, by the way, I recommend you get out a journal or get a journal, and I give you these 5 steps. These are 5 things that I'm gonna suggest you do when I'm gonna first help you define when you're having a controlling moment. But then I'm gonna give you 5 things 4 other things after that to do so that you can dissipate control from blocking your blessings, from blocking your abundantly above all that God has for you. All right. So, number one, you got to notice the difference between constructive control and destructive control. Okay. Constructive control is maybe you're on a team and maybe you're working on a project and no one's stepping up. And so you step up and say, I'll do it. That's constructive control. Like you're taking over the wheel because nobody else is driving the car. You say, oh, I'll drive. But a destructive, and I just gave you an example a minute ago, is when you're in an argument with your mate and you're trying to win. Instead of thinking, you know what? What's the happy resolution here? How can we both be happy here? That's destructive because there's nothing good out of you just trying to win. Oh, he ain't going to have his way. Why? Why can't he have his way? Or maybe you don't volunteer to be head of that project because, oh, my boss should have already figured out and should have asked me. Why? That's you trying to control the situation. Or when you're trying to control or figure out why somebody did this and I'm going to get them back because they didn't do the way I wanted. No, that's you trying to control the situation. Let go. Let God deal with it. And so when you feel yourself starting to control, here are the things I want you to do so that you can begin to uproot it. My clients, and Regina knows this as a client, I call anything that's trying to choke out the seed of your purpose a weed. And one of those weeds that will try to choke out the seed, remember I told you, I'm gonna show you this on the screen again. Your business is in an atmosphere. In that atmosphere, there are things that will happen, things that will stop you or try to from becoming the highest and best version of who God created you to be. So with my clients, I call it weeds, but I'm gonna call it roots here because every weed has what? A root. You got to uproot the root to the destructive control. Okay. So check your roots. So when you're feeling like you're trying to control something, stop and check your roots. Is it rooted in how you were raised as a child? Is it rooted in, so like if I give you an example, I grew up in an abusive household. So some of my control is because I could only control certain things. Learn that in counseling. Are you trying to control the situation because you want the big role that's coming up and you don't want someone else to get it? So look at where do the roots come from? Is it something that happened to you in your childhood, in your 20s? Did your boss at your previous job not appreciate you? So now you're bringing it to this job. Maybe you started your business before and it didn't work. So now you're trying to control to make sure it does the same thing doesn't happen this time. What are the roots? Or maybe sometimes you might be doing stuff to get approval. How about that? That's a root that could go to a destructive place that needs to be pulled up. Number 2 is pause to notice. Like when it's happening, when you feel you're being controlling or you feel like that place, and sometimes you won't realize you're being controlling if you've been like this for a really long time. You'll need to sit, I would suggest every night and look at your day, right? When you have an urge to control, notice your feelings. Is it fear? Are you doing it out of fear? Fear of what might happen if it doesn't happen the way you think it's supposed to happen? Is it anxiety? Are you afraid of what might happen if it doesn't happen? Well, there's afraid again. Right? What's interesting is any negative emotion I'm going to say is going to be rooted in fear. So let's just say that. So notice what's coming up for you. Are you anxious? Are you scared? Are you in overwhelm? So you're trying to control things so you don't sit in overwhelm, but in controlling it, it makes more overwhelm, whether you realize it or not. Right? Are you worried? Even are you sad? You know, it's interesting the number of women that I see that try to control their men from cheating on them. Girl, if he gonna cheat, he gonna cheat. Let go. If that's who he is, as Maya Angelou would say, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time and let go and move on. If he's your man, he gonna get his life together and come on back. If he's not, God will bless you with a better one. How'd I know? Because my better one's in the other room because my previous 2 acted a fool. Anyway, that's a whole nother workshop another time. Okay. So, number one, notice the difference between constructive and destructive control. Number two, check your roots. What is it rooted in? Did something happen to you that makes you think like that? Your childhood, your previous job, your mate, whatever that is. Pause to notice. We as women, especially Black women, we have learned to just keep it moving, move on to the next, and we don't pause. This is the being time that I teach my clients. It's that pause. See, God's not showing up in your busy. He gonna let you stay busy. You want to be busy, being busy, trying to keep moving so you don't feel like you controlling? Well, you are. So pause and notice it so you can begin to look at what feelings are present. Okay. Then once you realize what feelings are present, you can release them and replace them. So again, an example would be if I feel like I'm trying to control my husband, and this is a real, okay, so let me be real transparent. So even in my business, I wasn't let my husband in my business at all. Why? Because the previous two men I dated, who were both executives and high profile people, let me just say it like that, would totally not were not supportive of my business at all. And so because of that, the way I controlled my husband, me not feeling like that with my husband, if this is making sense, y'all, is I just didn't tell him anything about my business. And I have an executive in the other room. And my husband kept trying to help me. And I was like, I'm good because of what had happened to me in my past. When I began to stop and notice it, that I was still hurting, that I'd put up this wall so that he couldn't get in, I realized I was blocking my own blessing of a man that could teach me some things. And he's taught me a lot. But my inability to stop and notice it and then replace it. I had to admit to him first, oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I realized that I told him. And now when I feel like that, I stop and I go ask him a question when I'm feeling like I'm trying to leave him out. I'll bring him in even further. So, what can you replace that negative emotion with? If you're having a hard time with this, that I'm going to suggest to you to go to counseling. Now, of course, you have insurance with your company, great. Usually with health insurance, counseling is included. But I'm gonna tell you, counseling has changed my life. Totally. The fifth thing to do is release the idea of having to be perfect. You're not gonna be perfect. You're gonna make mistakes, stuff is gonna be wrong. And that's okay. 9 times out of 10, controlling means that something is wrong and you're afraid if it doesn't get done the way you want it to happen, that something's going to go awry, whether that's your relationship, whether that's a project at work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even the times that when I first got an assistant and I was micromanaging my first assistant, and because I wanted her to do it the way I wanted it done, I realized I was keeping her from being creative. And then while I was micromanaging her, I wasn't getting my work done because I was busy micromanaging her. So I had to learn to let go and learn that she was going to do it the way she does it. As long as she got to the same outcome, who cares how it's done? But that was my fear of our projects not looking perfect. Especially when I was a deputy director of a division and we worked with 300 agencies at the time. And I wanted always our reporting and our things to come out perfect. Well, sometimes they didn't. And that was okay. And I learned that when I let my assistant do her thing, we used to have so much fun because then she was totally herself. She didn't feel held back. And we just had such a great relationship. Matter of fact, she's still my friend on Facebook, so she might be watching this and you know who you are. I ain't gonna say your name. All right. So ultimately, all of this talk about letting go is you learning to let go and let God. When you have a next level brewing inside of you, whether that's to start your business or for some of you is to grow your business, if you've never been in the place that God has taken you, it's going to be scary, you guys. But when you surrender and say, Lord, I trust you, you do everything He's telling you to do, you're taking all the right steps, God will show up in the middle of that. But when you let everything in your atmosphere, the fear, the anxiety, the sadness, what happened to you yesterday, if you let all those things hinder you, you'll never get to your next level. You'll never get to your breathtaking future. You'll never get to everything God has for you and everything He envisioned for you when He created you in the first place. So that's it. That's the end of this series, y'all. The 10 commandments of doing business God's way. And really, as I sat in quiet contemplation, when I always do, when God gives me a series and He begin to show me all the things that people overlook. People are so focused on strategy, and you want sales strategy and marketing strategy and all those things, and all those things are needed and necessary. But what about you strategy? What about the strategy you need? Because your business will never and can never outgrow you. So you've got to take the time to master all of these things so that, or get the support you need, so that you are growing beyond who you already are. So as we conclude this series, again, please share with me what's resonated with you. How have you been implementing the insight I've been sharing with you? And please share it with a friend or two. Now, as we wrap this series, to be honest with you, I'm going to be on a pause for a minute because God is doing some new stuff for me as well. So I won't be live for a minute. I don't know when I'll be back. We'll see when God leads me back. But I'm in the middle of my own uncomfortable shift as my purpose is growing and matriculating. And so I'm getting ready to pause to notice. And so, with that said, it's always my honor and privilege to be here to pour into you. I'll see you on the other side of my pause. In the meantime, please share any insight, takeaways, questions. If there's things I can do to support you, please write them in the comments. I read every single comment. All right. So, again, thank you for joining me. I'll see y'all soon. Bye bye.